Warning: this episode contains political incorrectness, unapologetic opinions, and unfiltered patriotism. If you came here looking for a safe space, CNN's that way. And they've got plenty of coloring books left over from the lockdown. This is Data and Dissonance, the show that doesn't care about your feelings, your hashtags, or your preferred pronouns. We're here to roast the powerful, wake the sheep, and speak truth, even if it burns. And since it's Veterans Day, we'll do what Washington apparently can't. Stand up, shut up, and salute the people who earned the right to complain about this country, not the ones burning flags for TikTok likes. Let's roll.
Breaking overnight. The longest shutdown in U.S. history may finally be ending as 8 Senate Democrats crossed party lines and joined Republicans to reopen the government. That's right. Hell froze, pigs flew, and for one fleeting moment, bipartisanship looked less fictional than Hunter Biden's laptop repair receipts. Meanwhile, airports are chaos, federal workers are backlogging paychecks, and CNN's panelists are clutching pearls so tight they're cutting off circulation. And because it's Veterans Day, the same politicians who couldn't pass a budget in 40 days are somehow finding time to post patriotic selfies beside men who actually did something for this country. Welcome to Tuesday, November 11th. Shutdowns, protests, and a TikTok ticking time bomb. This is Data and Dissonance, and we're about to stir the pot till it melts. All right, folks, before we dive into this circus of incompetence, let's bring in the all-star panel of misfits and mouthpieces that keep this ship sailing through the swamp. First up, he's the man who treats political debates like bar fights and always leaves with someone else's beer. Brian, our resident MAGA inferno. If common sense had a flamethrower, it'd sound just like him. Next, the voice of balance, reason, and occasional eye rolls when Brian starts yelling about lizard people. Rachel, our independent truth bomb technician. She's here to remind us nuance still exists, even if Twitter murdered it years ago. Sliding in from the shadows of the digital deep state, the guy who connects dots the rest of us didn't even know existed. Daniel, our conspiracy maestro. He's got the receipts, the theories, and probably a corkboard that scares the NSA. And rounding out the crew, fresh off the green side of politics and still trying to convince us kale is a meal, not a punishment. Skylar, our progressive heartbeat who somehow hasn't quit on us yet. You're braver than most, kid. Me? I'm Artie, the guy at the helm just trying to keep this ship from ramming into the iceberg of idiocy. Buckle up, grab your coffee, and hide your feelings. Because tonight, we're slicing open the beast, Segment 1, the Shutdown Showdown. So here we are, folks. The lights are finally flickering back on in D.C. after the longest government shutdown in American history. 43 days of gridlock, finger-pointing, and taxpayer torture. And suddenly, 8 Democrats decide to grow a spine and vote with Republicans to reopen the damn thing. You know it's bad when even Chuck Schumer's Botox couldn't hide the shock. Let's call it what it is. Political triage. These senators didn't suddenly find Jesus or fiscal responsibility. They found angry constituents, empty airports, and headlines saying Democrats blink. The internet's calling them traitors to the resistance. Conservatives are calling it Christmas in November. And CNN? They're calling it complicated, which is media code for our side just lost. But let's dig deeper. These weren't random rookies. You've got Fetterman out of Pennsylvania, who apparently realized blue-collar voters don't appreciate their paychecks being political hostages. You've got Durbin from Illinois, who's been in Washington so long his voting records got dust on it. And Angus King, the independent who pretends he's not a Democrat until the cameras turn off. 8 of them crossed over, and just like that, the government's humming again. And you'd think that would be a good thing, right? Wrong. The Twitter mob's melting down harder than the ice caps Greta's been warning us about. They're crying betrayal, saying the Democrats sided with fascism. Buddy, if reopening the government so TSA agents can get paid is fascism, sign me up for the dictatorship of direct deposits. Meanwhile, the media's pretending this was some heroic bipartisan moment. Nah, it was political survival. Democrats know they're bleeding voters faster than Biden's approval ratings during a press conference. And Republicans? They're grinning like a kid who found out the principal's on vacation. I mean, come on. Even the TSA is celebrating. You know it's a historic day when airport security finally gets paid to grope people again. America's back, baby. But here's the kicker. This deal only funds the government through January 30th. So we've basically hit snooze on a dumpster fire. It's like your ex saying, "I'll change." You nod, take her back, and by February she's already keying your car again. We didn't fix anything. We just delayed the next collapse. So tonight, we're breaking it all down. What's in the deal, who caved, and how Washington turned the shutdown into a political Super Bowl of finger-pointing. Coming up after the break, we'll get the full take from Brian, Rachel, Daniel, and Skylar, and trust me, there's enough ammo in this topic to piss off every corner of the internet. Don't move. This is Data and Dissonance, where government stupidity meets good coffee and better insults. All right, crew, the government's back open, the swamp's refilled, and 8 Democrats just earned lifetime coupons for half-off betrayals. I'm dying to hear how you all see this one. Brian, let's start with you. 8 Democrats broke ranks and helped Trump's team reopen the doors. Are you popping champagne or just reholstering the flamethrower for round 2?
Champagne? Hell no. This calls for bourbon and bald eagle fireworks, brother. I mean, I almost choked on my bacon this morning watching CNN try to explain how bipartisanship suddenly mattered again. These 8 Democrats didn't have a moral awakening. They finally heard from the folks back home screaming, "We can't afford your tantrum anymore." You've got TSA agents pawning their PlayStations and park rangers driving Uber, and suddenly Durbin and Fetterman go, "Maybe we overshot this one." Look, I'll give credit where it's due. It takes guts for a Democrat to do the right thing, knowing MSNBC is going to crucify you before lunch. But let's not act like this was altruism. It was self-preservation in election season. They saw the writing on the wall. People are sick of government shutdown theater. So yeah, they crossed the aisle. Good. Now maybe they can stay there and help clean the damn mess. And let's be real, this historic compromise funds the government for, 10 weeks? That's not a solution. That's a snooze button on stupidity. Congress basically said, let's take a break from failing and fail again in February. Only in Washington can you brag about reopening a government you're paid to keep open in the first place.
Brian, you're not wrong. Only in DC can a man light the house on fire, then take a victory lap for grabbing a garden hose. But speaking of hoses, Rachel, you usually bring the water to Brian's gasoline. What's your take on this? Are these 8 Democrats brave, desperate, or just tired of explaining to their voters why the government's on vacation?
Probably all 3, Artie. Look, at least they did something besides stand at a podium pretending hashtags fix budgets. But let's be honest, this wasn't courage. It was common sense finally making a cameo on Capitol Hill. You've got 800,000 federal workers missing checks, families skipping rent, airports turning into Survivor TSA edition, and politicians arguing about who cares more. The public didn't want a shutdown. They wanted grown-ups. 8 of them actually showed up. And sure, social media's roasting them like it's open mic night at the DNC. Traitors, corporate shills. Give me a break. These people just saved you from another 2 months of bureaucratic constipation. The irony is delicious. The same folks screaming, "Protect democracy," spent a month cheering for the government to stay closed. But here's my favorite part. The press conference. Every Democrat who voted yes suddenly looked like they'd survived a hostage situation. We just felt it was time to put the American people first. Yeah, no kidding, Sherlock. That's literally your job description. If that line counts as brave leadership now, we're doomed.
You can practically hear the violin music behind every soundbite. I did it for America. No, you did it because your re-election poll looked like the Titanic's heart monitor. Daniel, you're always connecting the threads. What's the hidden hand behind this? Because this many Democrats suddenly finding moderation feels about as spontaneous as a White House press leak.
Exactly. You know what this smells like? Coordination, not conscience. Those 8 didn't flip because they're rebels. They flipped because someone up top green-lit it. You've got donors calling senators like, "Hey, my government contracts are frozen. Reopen this circus, or I'm cutting checks to your opponent." The money pipeline got kinked, and suddenly, bipartisanship was fashionable again. Look at the timing too. Veterans Day week. You reopen the government right before the ceremonies so every politician can post their "We support our troops" photo op without getting booed off the stage. It's Optics 101. And the deal itself, read the fine print. It covers just enough spending to calm Wall Street, but keeps the next showdown locked for January 30th. Why? Because chaos is profitable. It keeps everyone fundraising. Democrats get to scream, "We fought the extremists." Republicans yell, "We stood for fiscal sanity." And the American people get the bill. Again. So yeah, call it compromise if you want. I call it the same movie with a new poster. The real conspiracy isn't secret cabals. It's the bipartisan addiction to crisis management theater.
You heard it here, folks. Daniel just accused Congress of producing Fast and Furious 12. Shutdown drift. And honestly, he's not wrong. But Skylar, I gotta bring you in before you start tweeting about composting the Constitution. Your party just split its own seams. Progressives are fuming that 8 Democrats caved to Trump's budget. Do you see this as betrayal, or do you think it's just pragmatic politics?
Oh, I see it as betrayal, Artie. Let's be clear. This deal left out every social safety net we've been fighting for. It funded defense contractors and border walls, but skipped over health subsidies and food aid that real people actually need. You can call it compromise. I call it cutting deals with the arsonist who burned the house down. And yeah, I know people are tired of shutdowns, but you don't fix that by giving the other side everything they want. You stand your ground. These 8 Democrats folded like lawn chairs at a Trump rally. They didn't save America, they saved their careers. Plus, let's not act like this shutdown only hurt federal workers. It hurt everyone relying on programs those same senators promised to protect. So, forgive me if I don't clap, because a few millionaires in states decided it's time to pretend to be patriots again.
Oof, Skylar came swinging tonight. I haven't seen that much fire from the left since Greta Thunberg found out about diesel generators at Coachella. But hey, you're not wrong either. This deal's a band-aid on a bullet wound. You've all said it. Survival politics, donor pressure, career panic. It's the trifecta of Washington dysfunction. The government shuts down, the people suffer, and both sides come out pretending they're heroes. Meanwhile, the taxpayer gets whiplash trying to keep up with which clown's driving the car this week. But here's the thing. For all the chaos maybe, just maybe, it's proof that America's still capable of calling BS when it counts. 8 Democrats flipped because the voters screamed louder than the lobbyists. That's something. A flicker of accountability. The rarest resource in Washington. So let's wrap it right there. The lights are back on, the checks are clearing, and Congress is patting itself on the back like it just ended world hunger. Don't celebrate too soon. This same fight's gonna be back by Valentine's Day, and next time they'll probably throw in a debt ceiling and a TikTok hearing just for the drama. Stick around. When we come back, we're diving into segment 2, Veterans Day in Crisis, where protests met parades and politics tried to hijack patriotism. You're listening to Data and Dissonance, where we roast both sides, refill your coffee, and remind America that common sense is the one thing Congress can't seem to pass.
Are you tired of politicians shutting down your government just to reopen it and take credit for working together? Introducing Government Reboot 2.0, the all-new political operating system that crashes every 90 days and still costs you $5 trillion a year.
I used to think fiscal responsibility mattered, but with government reboot, I can blame the other party and still get reelected.
Powered by cutting-edge hypocrisy, Government Reboot 2.0 features automatic blame shifting, real-time virtue signaling, and an upgraded shutdown simulator for 2026 pre-installed. Call now and we'll throw in a bonus feature, the accountability adapter. Plugs into absolutely nothing but looks really patriotic on camera. Government Reboot 2.0, because nothing says progress like breaking it, rebooting it, and blaming someone else for the lag. Government Reboot 2.0, proudly manufactured in Washington, D.C., tested on taxpayers since 1776.
All right, welcome back, folks, and happy Veterans Day to everyone out there who ever put on the uniform. The irony is thicker than a CNN anchor's makeup tonight, because while Americans are laying wreaths for heroes, politicians are laying excuses for why VA benefits are still backlogged. Across the country, ceremonies were disrupted by protests over the shutdown, funding freezes, and, because it's 2025, at least one TikTok influencer showing up dressed as a bald eagle for awareness. God help us all. At Arlington, protesters were shouting at senators trying to take photo ops. In New York, veterans were booing politicians who tried to hijack the parade. And in LA, they held a candlelight vigil for veterans of online discourse. Yeah, that's what happens when activism runs out of context and coffee. So let's cut through the noise. Brian, you're a veteran yourself. What's your take on this circus of disrespect and dysfunction?
You want my take? It's an absolute disgrace, Artie. Veterans Day is supposed to be about honoring service, not giving every activist a free open mic for self-therapy. These clowns protesting at the memorials should be ashamed. We've got men and women who bled for that flag, and these jokers are screaming about defunding imperialism between DoorDash shifts. I've seen more patriotism in a NASCAR pit crew than in half of Congress combined. And here's the kicker. A lot of these VA benefit delays and shutdown hits were avoidable, but the politicians don't care. They're too busy virtue signaling. They'll wrap themselves in a flag for the cameras, but the moment the parade's over, they vote to cut the very programs that help veterans get a doctor's appointment. So yeah, I'm pissed. And if one more celebrity uses a folded flag as a prop for Instagram likes, I'm throwing my remote through the TV.
Tell us how you really feel, Brian. That was borderline therapeutic. Rachel, you've got that more balanced eye. What's your read? Because this Veterans Day feels like America can't decide whether to celebrate or scream.
You nailed it, Artie. It's both. This Veterans Day turned into a microcosm of everything wrong with our culture. We can't honor anyone without turning it into a political statement. You've got legitimate outrage, veterans going weeks without benefits, VA hospitals understaffed, and families who can't get survivor pay because of the shutdown. That's real pain. But then you've also got opportunists. People showing up to scream about capitalism in the middle of a 21-gun salute. It's tone-deaf and tacky. The sad part is, both sides are guilty. Politicians love to exploit veterans when it's convenient. One week it's, support our troops banners. The next it's, sorry, we ran out of funding. We treat the people who actually served like political decor. I'm tired of hashtags and half measures. Give them care, give them consistency, and stop using them as props in your partisan plays.
Couldn't agree more. It's like every year, DC rolls out a parade of promises and ends it with a shutdown encore. Daniel, you've always got the strings map. What's really going on behind these Veterans Day disruptions?
It's deeper than people realize. You notice how these protests popped up in the same cities where defense contracts are being renegotiated? Coincidence? Nah, there's lobbying fingerprints all over it. Certain groups push protests to make the politicians look bad. Others push support rallies to drown them out. It's media manipulation 101. Chaos equals headlines, and headlines equal donations. And look, the VA delays aren't just bureaucratic, they're strategic. During shutdowns, agencies prioritize what they can weaponize. They slow-roll benefits because it amplifies pressure on Congress. The pawns are the vets. It's cold, it's cynical, and it happens every time. Meanwhile, the same defense companies making billions from wars we barely understand keep cashing checks uninterrupted. So yeah, everyone's waving flags, but half of them are covering something they don't want you to see.
Daniel, only you could make a parade sound like a covert operation. And I halfway believe you. Skylar, I can see you loading a rebuttal. What's your take on all this?
Honestly, I think both sides missed the point today. The protests weren't about disrespecting veterans. They were about holding the system accountable. When vets can't get health care, when housing programs get frozen, when benefits get tied up in shutdown drama, what are people supposed to do? Stay silent. The disrespect isn't in the protest. It's in how our country treats its veterans every other day of the year. Now, sure, some protesters were obnoxious. There's always fringe idiots who ruin the message. But most of them wanted accountability. And yeah, maybe yelling at politicians at a memorial wasn't the best optics, but at least they're yelling up the chain, not just tweeting into the void.
Fair point, Skylar. I'll give you that one. Though let's be honest, yelling at politicians at a memorial is like shouting at pigeons in a park. You make noise, they pretend to listen, and then they crap on the statue anyway. What I saw today was America arguing with itself. Half furious, half forgotten. Veterans deserve better than photo ops, hashtags, or shutdown collateral damage. They deserve a functioning damn government, not a fundraising slogan. And if there's any silver lining, it's this. The protests prove people still care, even if they show it in wildly dumb ways. The real test isn't today's outrage. It's whether any of these so-called leaders do something tomorrow. When we come back, we're shifting gears from patriotic chaos to digital anarchy. TikTok's got 72 hours to divest or die, and Gen Z is panicking like Starbucks ran out of oat milk. Don't go anywhere. Data and Dissonance will be right back after this next totally legitimate commercial from your friendly neighborhood government.
Are you worried about losing TikTok now that the government's cracking down? And don't panic! Introducing Freedom Talk, the brand new, totally American, definitely not run by the NSA social video app. With Freedom Talk, you can dance, lip sync, and share political rants, all while Uncle Sam watches safely from the comfort of his surveillance van. Worried about Chinese data mining? No problem. Our servers are proudly located in a secure bunker somewhere between the Pentagon and a Cracker Barrel.
I love Freedom Talk. Every time I post a video, I get 30 likes and one suspicious call from Homeland Security. It really makes me feel seen.
And thanks to our cutting-edge algorithm, your feed will always feature the latest in Patriot-approved content. Bald eagles, barbecue recipes, and 47 versions of the national anthem remixed by Kid Rock. Freedom Talk, because freedom isn't free, but it is sponsored by Lockheed Martin. Download Freedom Talk today. Available wherever free speech requires government permission.
All right, folks, welcome back to Data and Dissonance, the only show that makes Congress cry harder than Gen Z losing Wi-Fi. While Washington was shutting down and reopening like a 90s Dell laptop, the Commerce Department quietly announced that the US government is ready to ban TikTok unless it sells off its Chinese ownership this week. That's right. ByteDance has 72 hours to choose. Divest or die. Translation: America's favorite app for thirst traps, dog videos, and geopolitical espionage is about to get the guillotine. And Gen Z's losing their minds. Half of them are protesting, the other half are filming tearful goodbye videos set to Olivia Rodrigo songs. Meanwhile, national security hawks are popping popcorn like it's spy movie night. But let's be honest, this isn't about safety. It's about control. Our government's like, you can't trust China with your data. Only we get to violate your privacy properly. All right, Brian, let's start with you. Are you celebrating the end of the TikTok plague, or do you secretly enjoy doom scrolling through conspiracy dance videos at 2 a.m.?
Look, Artie, I'll be honest. TikTok was fun till it turned into the digital equivalent of a gender studies lecture. You can't open that app without some blue-haired sociology major yelling at you about pronouns while doing the cha-cha slide. If the government bans it, good. It's a national security threat and a national embarrassment. Half those kids would hand over nuclear codes if the password came with a trending sound effect. But I don't trust Washington either. They don't want to protect us. They want to monopolize the spying. They're like, delete TikTok and download our app. It's called Citizen Surveillance Plus. No thanks. Still, if it means fewer idiots licking ice cream in grocery stores for clout, I'll take the trade-off. Honestly, TikTok going dark might be the first good thing to happen to America's attention span since the rotary phone.
You're not wrong, brother. TikTok's like junk food for your brain. Tastes good, ruins lives. Rachel, you're usually the voice of reason when Brian's halfway to throwing a Molotov at the algorithm. What's your take? Is this about security or censorship?
Both. The government's playing whack-a-mole with a moral compass that's been unplugged for decades. Yes, China collecting US data is a legitimate threat. But let's not pretend Silicon Valley saints are better. They've been selling our souls to advertisers since dial-up. Here's what bothers me. Every time there's a banned TikTok push, it comes right after the app helps organize some kind of protest or movement. That's not coincidence, that's convenience. Washington loves free speech until it trends against them. And I've got to say, watching senators who still think Wi-Fi is a conspiracy try to grill TikTok execs is pure comedy. Half these people couldn't connect to a Bluetooth speaker if their life depended on it, but suddenly they're digital warfare experts.
Exactly. Every TikTok hearing sounds like your grandparents trying to reset the TV input. Now, Mr. ByteDance, is this a tick or a talk? Daniel, I can see that look. You're ready to drop some truth grenades. What's the real game here?
The real game, Artie, is data dominance. TikTok isn't the threat, competition is. The US doesn't want Beijing controlling the flow of influence. It wants to corner the market. TikTok became too good at shaping culture, trends, and, let's be honest, elections. The ban talk isn't about privacy, it's about narrative control. You think Congress cares about who's stealing your data? Please. The same clowns pushing this ban approved surveillance programs that can read your microwave reflections. And here's the twist. While everyone's arguing about TikTok, American tech companies are quietly cloning the algorithm. You'll see Patriot Talk or Real Truth pop up next year, owned by the same lobbyists who wrote the bill. The swamp doesn't drain, it just rebrands.
Patriot Talk, now featuring prayer, protein powder, and political propaganda in 4K. Skylar, this one's your generation's battlefield. Everyone's melting down like it's the digital apocalypse. What's your take? Free speech, culture war, or just another overhyped panic?
Honestly, it's all three. TikTok's not perfect, but it's where young people found a voice when mainstream platforms ignored them. You've got veterans sharing PTSD stories, teachers organizing for fair pay, and creators calling out corruption. It's not just dance videos, it's digital activism. And sure, China's involvement is shady, but the ban isn't a fix, it's a muzzle. We should be regulating data privacy across all platforms, not just the one politicians can't control. The problem isn't who owns TikTok, it's that nobody owns accountability. If the government really cared about our privacy, they'd start with Meta, Google, and every company tracking your sleep through your smartwatch. But no, they'll take away the one app where a 19-year-old with a phone can humiliate a senator with facts. That's why it's being targeted.
You know what, Skylar? I'll give you that. Because if there's one thing both parties fear more than each other, it's a kid with a Wi-Fi signal and zero respect for authority. This TikTok saga is the perfect 2025 headline. Government panic, corporate greed, and influencers crying in ring lights. I don't trust Beijing, I don't trust DC. And I sure as hell don't trust whatever data farm my fridge is connected to. Maybe the answer isn't banning apps. Maybe it's remembering that if something online is free, you're the product. So here's your takeaway tonight. Whether it's Congress pretending to protect you, or China pretending they don't know your browser history, the fight for your freedom's already digital. And both sides want admin access. When we come back, we'll close out the show with our final thoughts, where we somehow try to summarize all this insanity without getting banned ourselves. Stick around. You're listening to Data and Dissonance, the podcast the algorithms hate, but America keeps feeding anyway.
Are you tired of freedom feeling limited? Wish you could enjoy liberty, justice, and government services without all that pesky citizenship paperwork? Introducing the United States of Subscription, the first ever pay-as-you-go democracy. For just $49.99 a month, you'll get access to basic rights, partial representation, and exclusive early voting privileges. Need more? Upgrade to Patriot Plus. You'll get unlimited speech as long as it's approved, extra TSA pat-downs, and an ad-free experience on all government websites. Taxes sold separately. Benefits subject to cancellation at Congress's discretion. May include unexpected wars, inflation, and bipartisan disappointment. The United States of Subscription trademark, because nothing says land of the free like a recurring monthly charge. Subscribe today before your citizenship auto-renews in China.
All right, before we jump into final thoughts, a quick word from the only sponsor that hasn't tried to cancel us yet. Data and Dissonance Coffee. We're talking 3 blends of pure American rebellion, roasted right here in the USA, strong enough to wake Congress from a filibuster, and smoother than CNN's spin doctors after a polling drop. High Lakes Light Roast, for those who prefer their mornings like their media, lightly roasted, easy to swallow, and full of flavor. Rock Creek Medium Roast, the balanced classic. Toffee, chocolate, citrus, and a little bitterness, kind of like watching C-SPAN sober. Coffee Bitterroot Dark Roast, bold, defiant, and guaranteed to make your liberal coworker cry just from the aroma. And don't forget the merch. Mugs, trucker hats, hoodies, tote bags, even socks. Because nothing says I love freedom like caffeine and sarcasm on cotton. Head over to the store, grab your blend, and fuel the resistance one sip at a time. Remember our motto: stay caffeinated, not compliant. Data and Dissonance Coffee, roasted in the USA, brewed for patriots, and banned in 3 blue states. All right, folks, take a breath. We've been all over the battlefield tonight. From the halls of Congress, where accountability goes to die, to the streets where Veterans Day turned from solemn to chaotic, and straight into the algorithmic insanity of TikTok, where truth gets filtered through a ring light and a dopamine hit. It's been loud, it's been funny, it's been ugly, and that's exactly what makes it real. But before we close this one out, I want to hit pause for a second. No sarcasm, no satire, just us and a little truth. Because under every headline, every shutdown, every protest, and every social media tantrum, there's a country still trying to figure itself out. We're a nation that can't go 12 hours without fighting on Twitter, but somehow still rushes to help a neighbor when their house floods. We argue about everything: religion, politics, coffee brands. But when the flag drops to half-mast, most of us still stop, still feel something, still stand. The shutdown? It showed us how fragile leadership really is. Veterans Day? It showed us who actually pays the price for that fragility. And this TikTok circus? It reminded us that while governments trade excuses and algorithms trade data, the rest of us are just trying to hang on to what's left of real connection. And that's what makes this show, and all of you listening, different. We're not polished, we're not pre-approved, and we don't fit neatly into a headline. We are the messy, loud, sarcastic middle finger to apathy. We care enough to question. We joke because laughter's how you stay sane in a world that's gone full clown show. So as we shift gears into final thoughts, this is where we strip it all down. No segments, no satire, just perspective. Because somewhere between Brian's rage, Rachel's reason, Daniel's rabbit holes, and Skylar's idealism lies something called truth. And the truth, my friends, is that America's still worth arguing about, still worth fixing, still worth believing in, even when it feels like no one in charge remembers how.
You know, Artie, the more I watch this circus, the more I realize Washington doesn't need term limits. It needs an exorcism. Every time these people say, the government's working again, what they mean is, the check cleared. We had 8 Democrats finally do something right and reopen the country. But let's not hand out medals yet. They didn't save America. They just remembered it exists. And Veterans Day? These politicians couldn't salute without first checking which camera angle makes their poll numbers look patriotic. I'm sick of the talk. America doesn't need better speeches. It needs better spines. As for TikTok, look, if you're crying because your dancing app got banned, maybe touch some grass, my friend. Read a book, join a gym, pay a bill, live in the real world again. Because while Gen Z is panicking over filters, China and DC are swapping your data like baseball cards. Bottom line, we don't need more government apps. We need more backbone, more grit, and more Americans who remember freedoms supposed to be earned, not downloaded.
You know, Brian, as much as I love your fire, I think this week was less about spines and more about priorities. The shutdown exposed how fragile everyday life is when the people in charge treat governance like a game. Ordinary Americans, not lobbyists, not pundits, are the ones who suffer. And Veterans Day drove that home. When people who've already given everything are left waiting for paychecks and healthcare, something's fundamentally broken. We can wave flags all day, but patriotism means doing right by the people who served, not just cheering them once a year. And TikTok? Sure, maybe it's flawed, but it's also become a voice for millions, proof that people crave connection, even if it's through bad lighting and hashtags. We need to fix systems, not silence platforms. My final thought. If this week taught us anything, it's that leadership isn't about partisanship. It's about accountability, and we're still waiting for both.
You're both right. But let's call the bigger picture what it is: manipulation theater. Every one of these crises, the shutdown, the protests, the TikTok ban, it's all designed to keep you distracted while the real deals happen behind closed doors. The shutdown wasn't about budgets. It was about testing how far they can push the public before people break. Veterans Day, the protests got more coverage than the policy failures that caused them. And TikTok, it's the perfect distraction to keep us arguing while Big Tech and Big Brother merge behind the curtain. The truth is simple. Chaos isn't a bug in the system. It is the system. The louder the headlines, the quieter the corruption. My advice, don't just read between the lines, rip the whole page out and start asking who printed it.
Daniel, you're dramatic as ever, but I'll give you this. People are being played. I think the problem is we've forgotten who the government's supposed to serve. The shutdown hurt workers, veterans got ignored, and the TikTok ban just proved how little say ordinary people have over the systems that control their lives. We keep fighting over left versus right when the real issue is top versus bottom. Power keeps consolidating, and we're too busy throwing digital tomatoes at each other to notice. If we really love this country, we've got to do more than argue about who's to blame. We need to fix what's broken, and that starts with empathy, accountability, and maybe turning off our phones long enough to remember we're all in the same country trying to survive the same storm.
You know, listening to all of you, it hits me that America's greatest strength has never been our politicians. It's been our people. The ones who show up when things fall apart. The workers who kept the airports running through a shutdown. The veterans who still stand tall even when the country forgets to stand for them. And yes, even the loud, messy, chaotic citizens online reminding us we still give a damn. We fight because we care. We argue because we refuse to go quiet. And that's what makes this show, and this country, worth every headache it gives us. So here's my final thought. Freedom doesn't come with a filter. It's noisy, uncomfortable, imperfect. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Remember who you are, remember what you're part of, and remember why the noise matters. Because silence is the real enemy, not the other side. As always, remember to speak truth, stir thought. That's going to do it for tonight's show, folks. Big thanks to Brian, Rachel, Daniel, and Skylar for bringing the fire and the fury. If you liked what you heard, share the show, tag us, and help spread some unapologetic common sense through the chaos. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same fight, new nonsense. Until then, keep your coffee strong, your mind sharper, and your convictions louder than the headlines. This is Data and Dissonance, signing off. Tonight's episode of Data and Dissonance was brought to you by the Caleb Rourke Thriller Series, The Covenant Protocol and the Prophet Directive, available now on Amazon, with Black Echo Rising dropping December 23rd. If you love your thrillers like your coffee, dark, bold, and unapologetically American, grab your copy and join the fight. And by Data and Dissonance Coffee, roasted in the USA, brewed for patriots, and banned on college campuses nationwide. Because when the world goes crazy, caffeine and conviction are still the best defense.